Great guy, by the way.
Welcome to Sports Back Talk with Bully and Ringer, and we're taping the show on Wednesday, so we've had time to collect our thoughts, not be so maybe emotional about the Sunday debacle, the Sunday, I don't know, they call it the Minneapolis Miracle the Sunday before. What are they going to call that?
Sunday catastrophe.
Something. It was bad.
Well, I quit listening to KFan morning crews, both of them. I don't listen much on the 6 to 9 show anyways. They all sit there and talk over each other.
Okay.
They sit there and there's like 3 or 4 of them, and every one of them wants to be the lead. And you can't do that, Ringer.
Nope.
You know that. You're the lead. I'm kind of the follower. So
I get you revved up.
Yeah, and I can't be talking over the top of you. Well, these guys are supposedly professionals. Far from it. They all just chirp over each other. You can't understand anything they're talking about. It's awful. And then PA, it's like, what's one of my pet peeves, Ringer?
Pet peeves?
It's in my Twitter thing.
You've got many.
Yeah, but name droppers.
Oh.
Okay, and don't get me wrong. I mean, they're PAs in the profession of being able to do a little name dropping.
Right. Yep.
But he's taking it to another level. Like, he's friends with everybody.
Oh.
And that gets tiring. And I said today on Twitter, I said, I'm not listening to the any morning on KFan until 12 noon when Common Man comes up.
How long are you, is this kind of like a 40 days of Lent type of
10
thing?
days.
10 days.
Until the Super Bowl's done, so we can have PA quit kissing butt on every personality that's coming to the Twin Cities. And
I got you.
Today it was Matt Burke and Everson Walls. Who's Everson Walls? Well, we both know who he is.
Yeah.
But why bring him? I mean, I get tired of it. I want real life. I want, like, Common Man talk to a guy for 10 minutes about NASCAR, what type oil he uses, 5W40, 10W40.
Okay.
At first it looked like Common was going to get into one of his mocking moves. He ended up not doing that. He let him be, and the bit worked out. But that's what I want to listen to. I want to listen to common sense. The playoffs are over. Let's move on. But we're going to talk about.
We're going to talk about the game. So where do we place the blame on the absolute disaster that occurred on Sunday?
Defense.
Defense. I think we will agree on that. They were the bigger. I mean, there was disappointment across the board, but I felt like they were the biggest disappointment. Do you want to pick any? Do you want to pick on the front four, the linebackers, or the D-backs any more than the?
I go after the big players.
Okay. Yeah, the Pro Bowlers.
Everson Walls. Terrible.
Everson Griffin.
Everson Griffin.
Yep.
Yeah, Everson Walls.
Absolutely. Did they say his name?
Pathetic.
Did they say his name during the game more than like once?
They almost sacked the quarterback the one time.
Okay.
And they almost. I mean, he got.
Was that like in the third or fourth quarter?
No, it was in the second.
Okay.
Harrison Smith, I can see why he wasn't voted to the Pro Bowl. Everybody said he got cheated. Well, the way he played in that game, I mean, between him and Waynes, I mean, they got issues. It looked like Harrison Smith didn't know what his assignments were, what he was supposed to do.
Remember a couple of years ago when they were all out kind of playing for their own, they weren't listening to the coaches, they were going to do it their way. Did it kind of get that sense that that's what it was going on? And I'm asking what you think about that. I mean,
well, we didn't bring up the one thing I was going to get to, and that's coaching. I mean, we were out coached. And I said this last week, Ringer, is the Philadelphia coaches weren't going to look at the first half of that New Orleans game, okay? They watched the second half. They knew what they had to do. They knew the types of plays they had to run against that defense, and they opened them up like a can of sardines, as they say in the old cliche world.
Yeah.
And that defense looked bottom 5. Nick Foles is still an average quarterback. Did he have a great game? Yeah, he had a great game. But he's still an average quarterback, and people are going to find out a week and a half from now just how average he is, because New England Patriots aren't going to let him do what he did to the Vikings.
What makes, and I don't know if you can even answer this question.
Sure I can.
You're so confident about I think a week ago we were very confident in the Vikings defense. You're very confident in the New England defense. I mean, what do they do to make other teams look bad? What is it?
They are all on the same page, and they all give 110% on every play. They're not the best athletes. They don't have the best defensive core of players. By far, they don't. They get Gilmore on defensive back. They got a couple good defensive backs, but their linebackers, you wouldn't know them from a lineup. Okay.
No,
defensive
I agree.
tackle, defensive. There's no Linval Joseph, Everson Griffin. They don't have any of them guys. But you know what they have is they have right here. You know they will do
Belichick
anything.
wouldn't have them on the team if they didn't have
They will do anything to win. Where I can't say that about the Vikings players. Yeah, they can come out now after the game and, you know, we had a bad game, but you got to prove it in crunch time. I've always been a fan of who shows up in the big games. Those are the guys that I want on my team. And
boy, there's not going to be many Vikings left on the
there's not, and you know it was an eye opener, and it was great to hear what Zimmer was saying. He knows now that there needs to be some changes made, and even in the defense that looked very good. But did they look dominating, Ringer? Did they have the best third down pass or run pass defense in the NFL? Absolutely they did.
Yeah.
But that's another one of those statistics, you know. I want to know what the statistics are when, you know, the chips are down. A guy like the Pittsburgh Penguins, yeah, they weren't the best team record-wise. They're still not the best team this year. But I guarantee you, when the playoffs start in April, guess who I'm picking to win the Stanley Cup?
The Las
again?
Vegas Golden Knight.
No, I'm not even. They'll lose in the first round. But there's something about great players, you know. They always show up. Tom Brady. Great thing I noticed.
But when you say great players, you talk about the fact that the Patriots don't have great players. So when you say great players, you're talking about people who can run the scheme, people who are there because they can check their egos at the door. I don't need 14 sacks, and I don't need my name up there. Let's just get a win.
Yeah.
That's what you mean by great players.
And here's why, you know, Case Keenum, we're hearing lots of talk. People want him, people don't want him. Our good buddy Josh Svensson, of course, he's big buddy with Case now. And of course, he says he would do anything to sign Case Keenum. I said, boy, you're quite the negotiator there, Josh. But here's an example, Ringer, and it was so evident because I watched both games intensely.
I believe that.
Intensely.
I believe that.
And when the Patriots were down 10, Tom Brady was pacing the sidelines, talking to defensive players, tight ends, wide receivers, offensive linemen. He was pacing, going back and forth, had the eyes, you know, the eyes. Case Keenum got down 14-7. He's on the bench sitting. No emotion, just kind of blank eyes, you know, those scary eyes I call them. Okay, right there, that told me there is the difference between the greatest quarterback in the world, and I'll say it again, just another backup quarterback. And that's what we got in Case Keenum. Nice story, nice player. You know, I think we'll do fine with him next year because we will still have that good defense. We will have Delvin Cook. We will have Thielen. We will have Diggs. We will have Rudolph healthy. So the offensive line, I'm sure we're going to add one or two pieces there. Defensive line, we're going to add one or two pieces there. So the team will be good to go if Zimmer wants to go status quo at the quarterback position. But boy, he can make some plays. Like I made another comment. A lot of people saying, "Well, Keenum isn't the reason they lost," and I agreed. I said, "Yes, I agree. He isn't." But he didn't do anything to help us win either.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. He managed the game, but didn't make. Well, I mean, even the interception that he threw that made it 7-7.
That was a big play. Right?
It was a big play. It definitely changed the momentum of the game. I really thought when the Vikes, after that first drive, when they got the 4 or 5 first downs and then they got the interception and they punted, I think, and then on their would have been their 5th possession, they drove all the way down, got inside the 20-yard line, and that's when they created the fumble. that to me right there, that was kind of the flipping point of that game. I thought it's still at that point, the Vikings score
Kick a field goal even, 14-10.
We're right in that football game, but they got the turnover. They went down almost, it was just like, did they even have to run a play? And they were in the end zone, and it was 21-7, and then we got down, and right before half, we had a chance to maybe cut into the deficit with a 3. We give up the ball, and with under a minute to go, they drive all the way down the field and get a field goal, and all of a sudden, instead of being a 1-score game possibly, or maybe only a 2-score game, it was a 3-score game, and that changed the whole dynamics at halftime, because all of a sudden we came out in the third quarter with this mode of desperation, and I felt like it was almost a panic where they didn't really need to do that. New England was down 10 points, 2 scores at the start of the fourth quarter.
Not a big
deal. There was no panic.
No.
We're down 3 scores with an entire half, and all of a sudden we're going on 4th and 2 from play the game.
Yeah.
Play the game. And, you need to get to those places and learn. Coaching staff needs to learn. Players need to learn. You got to be there. And those kinds of things have to happen. I saw a tweet today that Darrell Bevell might be coming back as the offensive coordinator, and there was a comment about shooting themselves rather than having that happen, and I'm like, well, that's a little overboard, but I understand where you're going. It's going to be interesting to see who they bring in offense coordinator, or is it going to be the same type of system? Is it going to be a brand new system? It's going to be interesting because what kind of personnel do they have, and do they bring in the right person to fit that personnel? With Cook coming back next year and all these other pieces, do you bring in the right offense coordinator? I think Mike Zimmer's got a huge decision to make there on who he brings in for that position, because that's going to dictate a lot what this team does next year. And of course, they won the division, so they're going to play a #1 schedule next year. So they're going to get all the division winners out of the other 3 divisions, which of course is going to make their schedule that much more difficult. And so I'm not trying to put the shade to next year already, but it'll be more difficult next year. It'll take them time to get the offensive coordinator, even with OTAs and everything, the way they run pre-fall now with the preseason. They're hardly ever practicing. They're never, you can only have them out there for so many hours. It's going to take time to get that stuff in, unless they bring in somebody who's a Pat Shurmur cookie cutter type of offense coordinator who does the same things.
Well, I know that, and I mentioned right away, I wanted Todd Haley. I wanted him right now. Cleveland, as soon as almost the next day, okay, they made sure Minnesota or Jacksonville weren't going to get a shot at him.
Yeah.
And they got Haley signed right away. I thought that would have been a good choice for the Vikings. Now, you go back to that play. It's 14-7. Vikings are driving 5. They're down there inside the 20. And you remember the play.
I do.
Now, being the football guy that you are, was that a mistake in personnel? Was that a mistake on Morgan? Was that a mistake on Keenum?
I've talked about this with a couple of people, and I'll say it this way. This is my football coach coming out in me on this. I don't know how many times the Vikings ran that blocking scheme during the year. I couldn't tell you. I would guess that if it wasn't successful prior to the NFC Championship game, they would have thrown it out the door. To me, and the way I kind of look at it, Morgan, all he had to do was make the difference from making that block to missing that block was when he turned and went to his left. If he went towards the line of scrimmage at all, he was not going to make that block. Now, I think they're expecting that defensive end to take a step down and hesitate. He came like a banshee, never broke stride. So when Morgan got there, if he had all thought about sneaking towards the line of scrimmage and that he was going to hit him up a little bit further, that was the reason for it. I like the blocking scheme. I like the idea of it. I think it can be effective. But certain circumstances built that in. Was Keenum supposed to roll maybe a little bit more to his right?
Was he supposed to get rid of it quicker?
Was he supposed to get rid of it quicker? Were the players not open?
Yeah.
And I think I said that last week, that I thought the receivers in the second half of the New Orleans game were not getting open like they had in the first half against New Orleans. Yeah. So is that part of the piece of the puzzle too? Did Philadelphia just know what play was coming from the formation, and they executed it kind of like when New England beat Seattle when they threw the ball? The guy knew the formation and knew the play, and he jumped it. Is that what that defensive end did? Hey, that's what scouting's about. That's what knowing your opponent's about. And like I said, give Philly, the team, credit. Don't give their fans any credit, because I talked to my wife, and we've all heard the stories, but he went to the game with his 2 sons, and both his sons got hit with full beer cans.
Well, they were
at the game, got hit in the head in the stadium, and the policeman told them, "Well, that's what happens.
You shouldn't be wearing Vikings colors."
That's what happens here.
Yeah.
Even though they had to get stitches.
That's mind-boggling.
Had to get stitches.
Mind-boggling.
And said, well, that's just the way it is.
And Vikings fans getting kicked out, being told to leave after the third quarter, being told, hey, you shouldn't be wearing your purple. Well, something's wrong with that city, first of all. That's preposterous. If I lived in that city and that's how the cops treated things, I'll tell you what, I'd be at the next city council meeting saying, is this our protection?
Well, I can't believe that this...
There's better protection at Bronco Stadium, Bronco Arena, for fans with our local law enforcement who show up, and they wouldn't let that happen.
I think we go back to the San Francisco Giants and the LA Dodgers. Was that maybe 10 years ago, where the guy got beat up he was wearing his San Francisco Giants stuff, if I remember it the right way, and he gets beat up in the parking lot of the game, and you're just kind of like, where is this going? And of course that could escalate. I mean, it could have started both ways, but I got a hard time believing that this teenager said something to somebody enough to deserve to get hit with a full can of beer. It just boggles my mind, and like I said, I saw something on Facebook today that said let's try to show the Philadelphia people a little bit better than what they did. I think
that's the best way to do it. When they're here, just treat them good. Yeah. Buy them a beer. I made one mention on it, and I stayed away from it because you start getting into Twitter, basically bashing. It just turns into a nightmare. Yeah. And there's no way out of it. So I think the best way, I mentioned that if you come to Minnesota and we have our tent up, we'll invite you in for a beer. We'll invite you in to taste our rabbit or our venison. We'll invite you to come in and talk football. I said, that's what I want to do. That's why I'm at the game. I love when I go to games and sitting outside stadiums or arenas, I love talking to opposing fans. I get a kick out of it, and it's fun. It's all part of the deal, and usually.
And I think the razzing, the pushing, your whatever. Okay, I can buy this, but the beating up and all this, I'm absolutely stunned.
It made me sick, right?
That it was condoned, I guess. That it was kind of like turned a blind eye to it. I mean, if you had the videotape of some of the things that I saw on Twitter, and I hardly looked.
I saw
some of the stuff I saw. I'm like, couldn't you walk into a police station and say,
it's assault
at the minimum? Yeah, I just saw. Anyway,
what if someone? I mean, seriously, very easily someone gets hit in the wrong spot on the head by a full beer can. You can die.
You're dead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now what? That's murder one. Okay. Maybe they'll get off on a. Now I'm going to be Mr. Lloyd guy. But I just find it the attitude of the people of that city, like that's what we're about. If that's what you're about. We're all American citizens. We're all from the United States of America. Okay, Liberty Bell, what does it do? Brotherly love, what is that? And they take a good fine piece of meat called a ribeye, they beat the snot out of it, okay, and that's their known food, the Philly cheesesteak. They put cheese whiz on it. Why don't they put a piece of Spam on and call it the Philly cheese Spam burger? But
have we beat this beating thing to?
Yeah, we're done with the Vikings game, and I just thought the play call with what they tried to do on that play at 14-7 was too risky at the time.
Okay,
we needed points there. We needed to run the clock and get out of that halftime.
I understand what you're saying.
Because we were still in it, but to me that was just too risky. But good fun. It's still fun, and getting together with family, and thanks to Drew and Britt's putting on a nice party, and our group will get together again on Super Bowl.
As long as we're in this controversial mood about things, did you see my what I retweeted last night from Louis St. George about the basketball game, the high school basketball game from last night. In case you are
I didn't
unaware.
comment. I almost did. Some other guy commented what I was thinking.
Yeah, there were some interesting things. Northwoods last night, probably the number 1 ranked team in the state. They were state runner-ups last year. Have not lost this year yet. They defeat Cherry 130-12, and there were some things put on my retweet about the way things should go. And I know one of my family members this afternoon commented, well, they should start to play better. And I'm like, well, you know, at the professional level, you can say that. Maybe even at the college level. The high school level, I know there's people who believe that, but I'm not one of them. And I looked at the box score. They had 14 kids, different kids score. Nobody scored more than 21 points. So I know that they put their players in, but 130-12 is not right.
You can't just pass the ball around.
Yeah.
You know. And yeah, you can always go, well, the other team has to improve, and someone mentioned, well, they got some good kids coming up, but right now it's decimated. They just don't have the players or the athletes. And but 130-12, and I liked one comment that a person made. He said, shame on both coaches for letting it get like that. Yeah. You know, I don't know the cook or coach. I mean, it's kind of nice combining two nice little towns like that, plus all the area between them, and making a nice single A or whatever they are.
They are single A.
You know, here we are up here. We got 4 schools within 50 miles of each other, and we got 4 different schools, and they all got to play on their own teams. And heavens forbid we ever thought of co-oping. I mean, at the same time, our teams are getting hammered.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know people will get mad at me for that comment, but you know, maybe sometimes it makes more sense to do what does make sense instead of, worrying about, school district this and school district that.
And I said, I understand that you got to put the kids out there. The clock is running. You want to let them score. You want to work on your stuff, but you can do it in a way where you work the ball around. You run your offensive play. You run your play until you get a layup. There's ways to keep things in semblance, and I know they did the same thing to another county school, Southridge. One of the first games of the year, Goggle Eye scored 63. I think the final score was 115-30, and I don't know if that's what it has to do with it being a county school and them trying to show their dominance. And frankly, Southridge, not a bad team. I watched them on Monday night. Not a great team, but not a bad team. Cherry, really down. Northeast Range, really down. Well, those are the 3 other schools in that school district. Are you trying to show how good you are because you're the biggest school in the district, and et cetera, et cetera. So it makes for some whatever. Let's move on from that, because
what else controversial?
2 Timberwolves making the All-Star game.
You thought that was controversial?
Is that controversial?
No, I think they both.
Very
Butler
deserved.
said he doesn't like All-Star games. I don't blame him.
That I don't blame him on. I agree with that.
He's not an All-Star type. I mean, he's an All-Star.
Right.
He's top 10
but that's
player
not
in
his
the
attitude.
league. But he isn't a showman. He wants to play some D. He wants to D up.
He wants to win.
He wants to win. He's not gonna win an MVP award in a All-Star game. The Cat has that mentality.
I think
and
so.
That personality.
I think so.
But that's a showman's game, and really the only All-Star game worth watching is the baseball one, if you like pitching.
Yeah.
But it's good quality baseball, and both teams are trying to win, and both teams are playing both defense and offense because there's no other way to play baseball. But
I agree.
Anyways, it's not controversial. I think both are deserving, and Timberwolves got to keep winning. They are in a tougher part of their schedule. 2 big wins in a row for them without Jimmy Butler, who's resting his knee, and of course Jamal Crawford also.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been able to dig in, and I watched part of the Clippers game the other night, and I swear we had never played defense before. I think the Clippers, they had like 57 points at halftime, and like 40 of them came in the paint. I'm like, I was stunned, and then you end up winning anyway. It's just like, what does that tell your players? play crappy and you still win against a pretty good team. I mean, who's been playing very well lately.
Yeah.
So just unreal. And they do play in Portland. It's Wednesday. They play in Portland tonight, and that's a division game. So those I always say are more important, obviously. So we'll see how that goes there. Let's talk about your Wild.
Sure.
We got what, 2 wins?
2 wins and they don't gain ground.
Well, we keep talking about the Central Division and how good it is.
They don't lose.
They don't lose.
Avalanche finally lost.
I mean, shouldn't they be playing each other and somebody would
eventually
lose?
They're gonna, but it just seems like everybody in the Central are playing,
the
Eastern teams, and Wild were fortunate that they got Ottawa, and Wild played fairly average, but it was tough to come off that. They played their best game of the year
against Tampa
Bay. They dominated them. I mean, they dominated who I think is the best team in the NHL.
Wow.
That's the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they're loaded. They got wait till Hedman comes back. That's kind of what they're missing. Their number one defenseman, but they got it all. I mean, they got 3 lines that can score. They can hit you. They can muck it up. They got good goaltending, Vasilevsky, and even without Hedman, they got some real high-end defensemen.
Okay.
So that was a good quality win. They played good enough to win on Monday night, and so they're playing really well. They go to Pittsburgh on tomorrow night, but you can't gain ground. And Dallas is playing good, and Winnipeg and Avalanche, and now you got to worry about the other side too, because now the Ducks are playing well, and it's crazy.
It is crazy.
They would be in second place in one of the Eastern Conferences, and third place in one of the Eastern. I mean, right now they're out of the playoffs. I mean, percentage-wise,
right? Yep.
But point-wise, it's going to be fun. Like Boudreau says, it's basically March right now.
Yeah.
And it should be fun hockey. It's going to be intense, and there'll be many nights where I probably will turn the channel.
So they get Pittsburgh on Thursday and the All-Star games this weekend. I was going to say, are you going to watch? Will you watch the skills on Saturday night? No.
Definitely won't watch that. Interest.
No interest. Okay. So then they come back after the break.
It's like punt, pass, and kick.
Yeah.
Not one time did I ever come close to winning punt, pass, and kick, but I still consider myself to be, in my age bracket, one of the best top 5 football players. Okay, and in most cases, and not to tear down those who did win the punt, pass, and kick, none of them ever played football. They could throw it, they could punt it, and the punt was, for me, that was a tough part, Ringer. My punt, it would go 30 yards straight, that way, but it would go 30 yards to the right, so I got a net 0 in that competition.
The biggest thing about the punt is the drop.
Yeah.
The drop is the most important thing. People think it's how you kick, you got to get your leg up high. Yeah, but it's the drop that's the big thing.
The kicking, I thought it was an onside kick.
That would make understand why you had a tough time.
Yeah.
Who got the Wild got after the break?
Who's what now?
Who do they play after the break?
They got Columbus right away, and
more Eastern teams.
Yeah, they got it at Columbus, and then they come home and play kind of like a Vancouver type, a team that they should beat at home, and then I think they're at home for 2, and then they go on a long road trip, I think, then. And
it's starting to come to state tournament.
Got Dallas coming.
They got state tournaments coming up here real soon. They're going to have to vacate the X for how many weekends.
But it should be fun, and it's going to be good, entertaining hockey. The Florida-Dallas game had like 148 minutes and penalties. And Florida's in the East. I mean, way east, and even in the Florida Everglades. And then them and Dallas fought the whole night. And so everybody's will get ready for the trading deadline. The Wild, you hear it? The Wild will not do anything at the trading deadline.
Is that a good thing?
Yeah.
It's the right thing. You don't want to make the same mistake they made last year?
Worked on Hansel and Gretel last year, and that was the most pathetic. And now St. Louis is talking they need a top 6. Evander Kane's the number 1 guy being talked about out there. He will be moved by the trading deadline. It's just there's a team of 6 that want him, but they also got to understand they are getting not the best citizen in the locker room. Okay, so you better be going to a strong team with some good leadership.
Like the New England Patriots.
It'll be good for the Chicago Blackhawks, but that team, they're probably
I wanted to bring them up. They're like
it could be done.
could be done.
Yeah, they got a lot of young guys, and the Taves has slowed down. Kane's still playing well, but I think that trade Panarin, moving Panarin away to get Saad back, so they brought Saad back in to get their team a little tougher, a little stronger around the net. They thought they thought they had some other Panarins, but Panarin's he's an elite. That was a tough one, and plus him and Kane played so well together, and Anisimov's been hurt and he's back now, but losing Panarin was big. Duncan Keith and Seabrook have taken a step back, so their defense aren't as good. Corey Crawford's been out with some are saying vertigo, some are saying concussion symptoms. You won't get a straight answer there, but
so many years of being good, you kind of maybe start settling a little bit, and the summer's not working as hard type of thing. I mean, I'm fishing for an answer on what you think the reason is.
I think just the loss of Hossa right away, unexpected, kind of like the Wild losing Parise. That was unexpected. But teams are going to have a bad year. Dallas has gone through a couple tough bad ones. Winnipeg's, I mean, if you think about it, everybody in that Central, Nashville, Winnipeg, St. Louis, the Wild, Dallas, Chicago, Avalanche, all 7 of them are very, very good, skilled, talented teams. All 7 of them. Okay, and 3 of them aren't going to make the playoffs.
I was going to say only 5 can
maybe go. We could get 5 in, but this is looking more like a 4-4 type year. But that means some good quality teams aren't going to get in, and it's been the same way the last 3 years. Dallas not getting in last year. And Winnipeg having a hard time getting in the last 2 years, and it's really tough. And that's what's going to make it fun is. The Wild are playing well now. I like what's going on. We need Nino back to add a little more depth so we don't have to put Chris Stewart, who went through the motions again last night. I just don't get, and the coaches are saying stuff to him, why you would go through the motions. And maybe he's checked out.
Could be.
Maybe he wants to get dealt. I mean, that's his stitch, is he gets moved more than any player in the NHL because there is something there that people like. The size, he can fight, but he isn't mean, Ringer. I said that about Coyle. Now Coyle's really starting to come on. What I liked about Charlie Coyle on Monday night is I watch stuff like this, kind of like you are about watching certain things. Yeah. When the Wild are coming out of their locker room, one guy sitting over to the left greeting every player as they go on.
Right.
That was 3, Charlie Coyle. First time ever. To me, that shows I'm taking some leadership.
Somebody wants to see.
Well, that, or somebody knows he needs to lead more.
Yeah.
And that was so
telling to you.
Yeah, it's just made me so happy. And the last 3 games he's played have been very good, and that's why he's got to be accountable. He's a top 6 forward. He's playing at a top 9 right now, but that's fine. I like our top 9. I think they're all interchangeable. But what I want from him is more leadership and more responsibility on the team, and get out there. And him and Eck play very well together, and I see a big second half out of him.
Excellent. I'd like to hear you. I'd like to hear that. I hope you are 100%
I'm Mr. Positive tonight.
You are. As soon as we got that king crap out of the way, we're ready to go.
Yeah. What else?
You want to talk about anything local?
Well, yeah, we could talk. Playoff basketball, playoff hockey. Of course, hockey will come first.
Yeah. Girls. As of
4 games, 3 games?
4 games left. 2 weeks will be at the start of the playoffs for the girls hockey. I did notice that they got moved up above Hibbing in the QRF in the most recent one, and they get Hibbing tomorrow night as we tape this on Wednesday. That game will have huge ramifications on whether the Bronco girls get a home playoff game or are going to be on the road.
Is that here? Or?
Tomorrow night it's in Hibbing.
Yeah, because the Falls boys play here.
Yep, and the girls, that's a 7 o'clock game down there.
That's a must-win.
It's essentially a must-win if they want to hold for seeding. Yes, and then they got Moose Lake at home on Saturday. Another one of those kind of must-wins. Moose Lake a little bit more behind, but the Hibbing one's down there. More important, the Moose Lake game is here on Saturday afternoon.
That'll be a girls-boys doubleheader.
No, the boys play Friday night against Greenway.
Oh, it's Thursday, Friday.
Friday, and the girls play Thursday, Saturday.
Okay, so playoff running right now. They got Hibbing, they got Moose Lake, and
then they get Eveleth the following Thursday, and then they finish up the season with Fort Francis on Saturday the 3rd. And
why are we playing them the last game of the year again?
I don't think I can explain that to you.
You know, it's they play a little different style, Ringer.
Absolutely.
A couple of their games have gotten a little out of hand, a little rough, and we don't need anybody.
Of course, the Bronco boys will be playing the Muskies next Monday. I assume that we're going to tape the show before, and then are we going across to do the game on the radio? Is that the plan?
Yeah. Do we want to do our show over there?
Ooh. That's not a horrible idea. Then we don't have to. We could go over a little early.
I could probably hook up a couple guys, maybe some Fort Francis players I played up against, and they'd love to come on.
So maybe we could shoot for a little time over there. That sounds. Hey, we're going international.
Yeah.
With Sports Back Talk.
Do we need custom okay on that?
Jeez, you wouldn't think so, but. You never know, for heaven's sakes. The international law could get in the way of us anyway.
But we'll maybe you got your contacts over there. Ask them where we can maybe do our show at. Maybe we can do it in the old arena. I'd like to do it, of course, in the new arena. But I'm sure they'll hook us up.
I think we could
get over there early enough.
Yeah, if we got there plenty early, we could find a place where a little out of the way and maybe with some atmosphere behind or whatever else. So I can work on that for next week. I'm sure everybody wants to know how we're discussing.
That's this coming Monday.
That's this coming Monday, January 29th. So that game starts at 7:15, and we'll be on with the pregame right around 6:55. So we'll work backwards from there, and we'll make sure that we get this taken care of.
Awesome. What else?
Not too much. I do want to make mention about Taylor Wilson. Speaking of local things, last Friday night hits a three-pointer at the buzzer to get a 55-54 win over Mesabi East. Also want to make mention of Deja Monroe from the Rainy River women's basketball team. This week, third time she's been named Northern Division Player of the Week. And this week, I'm not saying she wasn't deserving other weeks, but she scored 45 points on Saturday against Itasca. 45 points, that's a nice day.
She a three-pointer or she post?
She's I would say a wing, a small forward.
Slasher?
A slasher. She can run. They put her up on the top of the press. I would assume that they pressed and she got quite a bit of her baskets that way, quite a few of her points that way. Very nice player out of Texas. I had a chance to interview her last Saturday morning on Coach's Corner, and I asked her, I said, how does a girl from Texas get to International Falls? And she looked me dead in the eye and said, I don't know, but I'm here. And she said, I went home for Christmas, and I said, you went home for Christmas? And she said, I honestly thought, am I going back?
Yeah.
And she said, I couldn't let my teammates down. I had to come back. And so she's
a freshman?
She's a freshman. They're just two sophomores on this team. They are 4-0 in the division, have been having a very good season, and they go on a run of road games now. Excuse me, I think over the next 2.5 weeks, I don't think they play but one home game, and then they finish up the regular season with a bunch of home games. So we'll see if they can come through this pace. The men's team out at the college also having a very, very good start to their season. They are being been very successful as well. So it's getting down to playoff time. February is just around the corner, and as I mentioned, the girls' hockey playoffs start February 8th. So bring it on.
Yeah, and of course we're going to do our annual, or I shouldn't say annual, it'll be our second one. We're going to do our three
bar
hopping show with Sports Back Talk. I haven't talked to Lori yet at Hanson's, but I got the Viking Bar to agree, and as long as I don't bring up wedding stuff at the Border Bar, we're welcome back there again. Remember I was giving Bobby a hard time?
Yes, I remember.
The wedding, and he says, Bully, as long as you don't bring that up again and start putting pressure on me,
we'll be all right.
We're good to go there, so I'll talk to Lori, and I know she'll love to have us. And that was a fun show. And,
we had a good time.
Well, of course, then we'll give our predictions.
We'll work into our predictions, and we'll go from there. So we'll have Monday show, and then we'll tape another one Sunday, and we'll be off and running.
Yeah, maybe, and then get ready for, we got girls playoff and boys. We got lots of local things. I like you handle more on the Coach's Corner stuff, but pro sports is kind of coming to an end after Super Bowl, and maybe we'll just have a show every couple of weeks or something. Not that we want to get off the air, but we got to have something to talk about too.
Well, the Olympics are coming up too.
I can only make up so much.
You're going to want to talk about figure skating and biathlon, aren't you?
If we can get Tanya Harding in for a guest,
we can talk about the movie.
Yeah, and it's sad part is me and Diana watched that 2-hour documentary. We like her. As sad as that may sound.
You're talking about like the 30-30 on ESPN or the actual movie?
Yeah, no, not the movie. It's a 2 hours interview with it was on NBC. And
Okay.
it brought up everything, and she answered some tough questions. Now she knew, I mean, obviously, but there's nothing fakey about her. She's got lots of other things that her mother and all kinds of things in her life that made things difficult. But I guess she did a lot of the stuff on her own. But there's something about her, Ringer. That me and Diana just
That's why she was a professional athlete, because they've got that.
Yeah.
They've got it.
Yeah.
They have that magic.
And I say that about a lot of hockey players when I watch them. I'll watch them skate around the ice, and I'll watch them, do during warm-ups, and then the game starts. I said, they're a beautiful little player, but they don't have it. Because when the puck starts the game, that nice, beautiful skater during the warm-ups just disappeared.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like to talk to that young lad and say, now, listen, maybe look bad in the warm-ups, and then when the puck starts, don't worry about how you look, worry about how you play. That's my advice today.
Well, we got to end on that. We can't do any better than that. Thanks, everybody.
Don't take us too serious.